افغانستان کې له اقتصادي ستونزو او بشري ستونزو ورخوا د کډوالو ستونزه بل هغه لوی ناورین دی چې افغانانو سره له 2014 کال راهیسې مخ دي. په دغه ناورین کې نه یوازې په کور دننه 4 میلیونه افغانان بې ځایه شوي او بې کوره شوي، بلکې ګاونډیو او اروپایي هېوادونو ته هم تر 2 میلیونه کډوال تللي دي. خو دا کډوالي له ستونزو خالي نه وه. عین لسګونه افغانان چې ډېری ځوانانو په دې لارو قرباني شوي او مړه شوي دي. د افغانانو د ستونزې د حل لپاره نه یوازې د ملګرو ملتونو د کډوالۍ اړوند ادارې کار کوي، بلکې د ناروې کډوالو شورا بل هغه اداره ده چې د دې ستونزو ټټر یې وهلی. د دې شورا عمومي مشر دا ځل کابل ته راغلی او کابل کې له افغان چارواکو سره خبرې کړې دي. دا چې د په څه خبرې کړې دي، د لیدنو اجنډا او موضوعات یې څه وو، او په افغانستان کې د بې قانونه کډوالۍ لپاره دوی کوم ګامونه اخیستي دي، په اړه یې په دې مرکه کې خبرې کوو. زه نجیب لالزو یم او د مرکې میلمه مې د ناروې کډوالو شورا عمومي مشر اغلی ایان ایگلند دی. Mr. Egeland, thank you so much and welcome to Afghanistan.
Thank you. It's good to be back. This is my third visit to Afghanistan since the takeover of Kabul nearly 2 years ago.
You're always welcome.
Thank you.
You were here the last time some 4 months ago, and I remember you said that I'm leaving Afghanistan with disappointments. Have you been given some hopes this time after you visited the interim government's official in Kandahar?
Well, yes, I'm perhaps more hopeful now than I was in January. Of course, in January, we felt we were not helped by the government. We had stayed on here to deliver services and aid to the Afghan people. We did not leave with the NATO forces or with the diplomats or the Western countries. We stayed, as we has always done, in Afghanistan to help the Afghan people. And we were, out of the blue, told that our female workers could not work anymore. There was no warning. There was no one said we did anything wrong, and still there was a ban on our female work. And we had just also had a ban on education for girls beyond primary school. This time I have been in Kandahar. I'm also meeting Taliban leaders in Kabul, and there is now first a indication that the guidelines that will enable female work and female education will come very soon, that they have been nearly completed, and that would enable female work and education. And secondly, we have been told that we can now, in Kandahar province, negotiate an interim arrangement which should allow our female colleagues to restart work for their sisters, the Afghan mothers and the Afghan sisters in need, so that we can provide for them in their hour of great need.
Okay, so I can see that your disappointment was because of the ban on female workers, specifically of yours as well, because you're also international NGO in Afghanistan working. What about the situation of people, specifically the beneficiaries of your council in Afghanistan? How has their situation changed positively, or perhaps if that is negatively?
I think the crisis is even bigger now. More than 28 million Afghans need humanitarian assistance. That's the assessment of all of us humanitarian organizations coming together with the United Nations coordinating. We found that more than 28 million of the 40 million Afghans need humanitarian aid. There has in this also period been a dramatic lack of funding. So this is in part related to the ban on female workers. We cannot reach females in need with males only. So we're not able to do quality work for many groups. But then also I'm disappointed with the donors, including the Western donors, that have been holding back development assistance and even some humanitarian assistance because they disapprove of the policies of the government. Humanitarian aid should never be politicized, and we're telling the donors, keep up the funding, we can still do work, and we're hopeful that we can resume work, and we need more funding for that.
I have a specific question in that regard, Mr. Egeland. Thank you. But I will stick with your visit to Kandahar. You bypassed the capital of Afghanistan, Kabul, and went to Kandahar directly. Any specific reason?
No, I came first to Kabul, so I was here first a full day.
You didn't meet the Afghan official in Kabul here. You meet the Afghan official in Kandahar first, and then you came to Kabul. You're going to meet them here as well.
Because I met with the Kabul ministers in January, and I couldn't go to Kandahar. So now, in a way, I complete my mission by having met all of the ministers concerned in Kabul in January, then going to Kandahar, because we're told that the two decrees that have made such big problems for us come from the supreme leader in Kandahar. So it's natural for me to go there to speak to people whom I hope can make a difference and enable these guidelines that will make it possible for us to start work again. And of course, tomorrow I will also meet the Ministry of Economy to report back on my mission and to discuss the next steps and a resumption of work.
You also have a country director here in Afghanistan, but you are the general director of the NRC, and that is very positive and good step for the Afghans that you yourself come to Afghanistan. Is the visit for a specific positive message for the people in Afghanistan? Have you brought a specific positive message, something positive?
Yeah, the positive message is we're not forgetting Afghanistan. It's 3 visits in less than 2 years. I haven't done that. Well, I've done it in one other place on earth, and that's Ukraine. And you know, that is a big war in Europe. It's close to us. We have a big operation there. Afghanistan is the place that I've devoted the most time to, because I believe that we have an enormous responsibility to provide for the civilian population here. There were so many countries, including my own country, Norway, here for many years, trying to provide assistance. The development actors, the diplomats, the soldiers left. It's only us humanitarians who stayed. We feel a responsibility for the Afghan people. We will stay, we will deliver long term, and we try to scale up, doing livelihoods, doing education for women and men, boys and girls. We're here to help, really. But then my message to the government here is, help us, help your people. You need to do more to help us help your people. As I'm also telling Washington, Berlin, Brussels, Oslo, Stockholm, keep up the funding, because it will be so wrong after 20 years of this investment that was here to say, now we're only interested in Ukraine, or we're only interested in Sudan. It's the same 40 million civilians that they left behind when they went for the door.
Apart from the lacking decrease in the foreign aid to Afghanistan following the 2021 political transition in Afghanistan, after the ban on female works in education in Afghanistan, lots of countries have stopped or have significantly decreased their aid and fund, as you said, to Afghanistan. But the current government in Afghanistan said that these are all internal affairs and countries should not interfere. Do you think, and when these kind of decisions are made in Afghanistan, so the countries decrease their fund and aid to Afghanistan, do you think, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Egeland, that it is fair that you are sanctioning the country or decreasing your aid to Afghanistan? Finally, these are the common people, not the government, who is suffering and who is bearing the brunt of this humanitarian crisis.
But I agree. To politicize humanitarian aid is wrong. It is wrong to politicize it by saying we, the government, have an interpretation of Islam that no other place on earth has. There is no place on earth, none of the 20 Islamic countries where we work, where we've been told females must stop work. Never happened before. It's a peculiar thing here. Same thing for education. That is politicization of our aid to tell us that. We're against it. But it's also politicization of aid when some donors have said we're discontinuing our support because we disapprove of government measures. Aid should be given according to needs and needs alone, and the needs are exploding here. There are millions of children, breastfeeding mothers, who are starving now in Afghanistan. You don't see it here in Kabul or in the center of Kandahar. You go to the countryside, you see people really, really starving. So that's why we did not politicize aid. We were prevented from providing aid. If they tell us our female colleagues cannot work, we cannot reach the mothers of Afghanistan directly. We cannot reach a widow. How can we go to a widow with a male-only team and interview her and find out how are your needs and this is the support? Well, that is against Afghan values. So we stopped work because we were stopped by the authorities. We did not stop. They stopped us working.
بیرته راګرځو موږ سره پاتې شئ.
Coming to your operations in Afghanistan, what is the NRC busy with? Which programs specifically are you running in Afghanistan currently?
We have a large operation here, and we've had an operation now for more than 20 years. More than 20 years. We were in 20 provinces by December of last year. We helped last year, the first full year of the new government, we have 770,000 Afghans, either with food support, livelihoods, shelter, housing, water, sanitation, legal aid according to Sharia, support for civil documentation, birth certificates, school certificates, and so on, and house, land and property help so that returnees, for example, coming from Pakistan and elsewhere, could get their land back. All of these things had to be paused in January when we had the ban. Little by little, we've been able to start work again when we have exemptions from authorities to start work in some areas and in some sectors.
I know the NRC is a big organization, and it is not only focusing on crises like Afghanistan, but we have large crises, as you said. You mentioned some in the world, and you're busy with dealing with those crises.
Yeah.
Are you dealing with the problems of Afghans who are beyond the borders, who are based in neighboring countries specifically? Are you also dealing with their problems?
We are. We are helping in Iran tens of thousands of Afghans, and we've been there now for many years. So we're the largest organization in Iran helping Afghan refugees. We have been doing the same for many years in Pakistan. Pakistan did not renew our permit some years back. We're now negotiating to restart work also in Pakistan. So we're working across the Islamic world, really. You should also know we have a large program today in Sudan, where there is a new civil war. We're working in Somalia. We're working in Syria. We're working in Yemen. We're working across the Sahel from Mali all the way over to Chad.
So the NRC doesn't have work permit currently in Pakistan?
At the moment, we're not working in Pakistan because we did not have the permit. There was a lot of Western organizations were told to stop work 6-7 years back.
Okay, because among the 6 major areas the NRC is working, you also have the legal assistance.
Yes.
And also have the protection from violence. Yeah. These are the 2 specific areas where the Afghan refugees are very much suffering in Iran and Pakistan. So I was wondering if you have these issues under your consideration in these specific 2 neighboring countries.
Yes, in Iran, we are providing a lot of support, including legal aid. We're providing education for Afghan boys and girls. We're providing shelter. Girls' education is not a problem in Iran, another Islamic country, as you know. We are providing lots of support, camp management, water and sanitation, and the like. And we also do protection work. If there are problems, women experiencing abuse, we help and protect them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Egeland. We are now going to your geography, specifically to Europe. We have millions of Afghans going to Europe, and they have been living for years there. I'm providing you with some statistics. In 2020, there was a survey. They found that 1 in 6 European, we have 1 young in every 6 European who is aged from 15 to 29. That is first. Second, there is also a projection that the population of Europe will decrease by 6% up to 2100. So, considering these issues, people and the analysts, the refugee analysts, think that the European countries need refugees, specifically from countries like Afghanistan, that they want to be settled in European countries. If that is true, you tell me, please, why the European countries don't have a legal means for these refugees, so that they do not seek the illegal means where they even lose their lives?
You're so right. There should be easy legal ways to seek political asylum in Europe for Afghans and others who are suffering persecution. It shouldn't be that people have to flee across the continent and then throw themselves into the Mediterranean Ocean and risk their life to reach Europe, and there perhaps be deported back to Afghanistan or to other countries. We're campaigning for that. So when I come, the possibility to have a legal pathway for asylum seekers to seek asylum. We're not a migration organization, we are a refugee council, and we ask for the right of asylum for people who are individually persecuted. How Europe will solve its aging problem, I don't know really. It's not my portfolio. The many parts of Europe is densely populated, but it's true.
With young people, they say.
With old people, true. And it's true. I mean, the majority of the population in Europe is now above the age of 40, whereas the vast majority of the population here is below 20 years old. So, that would be a big reform of migration in general. There is too many people wishing to come to the affluent countries at the same time. We need to give priority to those who are fleeing persecution, who are individually targeted, and they have a right of asylum. No one has a right. I don't have a right to emigrate to Switzerland or to America or to California if I wanted. I can apply for that. And there should be ways of applying for Afghans for visa, as there to some degree is. I know many Afghans who have sought and got both asylum and migration to other countries.
So to paraphrase you, you have been lobbying, the NRC has been lobbying for legal pathways for seeking refugee.
Seeking asylum so that they can become refugees. That's the way you become legally come to seek protection in our countries.
Okay. Seeking refuge is a human right. Am I right?
Yes, it is.
There are hundreds of Afghans settled now in Turkey to cross that country to one of the European countries. Yeah. So they definitely have to cross the countries like Serbia and Bulgaria. And unfortunately, I have seen I have met with many Afghans whose brothers or family members have experienced that bad experience, that when they are crossing the border to one of those countries I named, they are very inhumanely treated by the border police of those specific countries. Even they are attacked by dogs and animals. Don't you think that their human right is being violated there?
No, I think that, yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. I feel ashamed as a European that Afghans, Syrians, Lebanese, Somalis, Eritreans, Libyans cannot get to Europe in any legal way and therefore have to risk their life to come. This requires a big international system of orderly migration. Of course, very many people come at the same time, and the border countries feel that they're overwhelmed, and thereby they answer with barbed wire, sniffer dogs, police, guns, and so on. It is not good. We are lobbying against that. We're, of course, also lobbying for more investment in hope where people stay. I mean, the solution to the problems of Afghanistan is not that all Afghans leave Afghanistan. The solution to the problems here is that there is development, livelihoods, human rights, gender equality, and all of these things. So let's work to realize that in Afghanistan, a beautiful country, a wonderful country with an ancient civilization that I am admiring. We need to provide hope again for the youth of Afghanistan so that they want to stay.
Thank you. My last question, Mr. Egeland. I know there is a recent crisis in Sudan, but the prior to that one is in Ukraine. Yes. There is a belief that being sort of a European country now, Ukraine is willing to be an European country. People think that Afghanistan has been forgotten, not only by NRC but all the international NGOs after the Ukraine crisis. Is that the case for NRC as well?
Yeah, I fear that is too much happening. And I have two messages. Number one, we're working hard to get Afghan policy and practice in accordance with universal standards of human rights and gender equality. We're working on that. But we are also a message to the NATO countries, to Europe, to North America, to Japan, to Korea, or to the Gulf countries. Don't turn your back on the Afghan people in their hour of need. The 40 million civilians here need assistance. We, NRC, had to close 5 offices in 5 provinces because of lack of funding. Our funding was not renewed because donors feel that conditions are not good for work now in Afghanistan. We tell them, keep up the funding because we will get conditions so that we can work here. We're working very hard. I'm working very hard to bring the situation in Afghanistan to world attention, and I will continue to do that.
Mr. Egeland, thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. درنلیدونکو ځانګړې مرکه همدومره وه تر بیا ښه وخت.
له لیدلو مو مننه.